Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia. Before we get into all of that, though, if you like the content, smash that like button. Also, follow us on our Instagram, on our Twitter. Some people call it X now. I still call it Twitter. Also on TikTok, we're at TheMandatory TKO, and make sure to subscribe to our channel as well. Lots to get into. We usually don't do these early morning preview shows, Bryan, but it's a special week because we're going to be previewing arguably one of the biggest fights of the year. So, before we get into all of that anticipation for this fight, it's been doing pretty well, I would say, on social media. So much drama leading up to it, mostly on the Ryan Garcia side. But before we get into everything, your thoughts on this fight and your anticipation on it. How excited are you for it? And is it pay-per-view worthy?
It's absolutely pay-per-view worthy. Y'all know I don't say that about a lot of fights. Devin Haney's one of the 10 or so best fighters pound for pound in the world, probably higher than 10 also. And Ryan Garcia is one of the 10 biggest names in the sport, one of the most popular names in the sport, and is somebody that people are going to pay for. In terms of the pre-fight stuff, have y'all seen Ryan Garcia's tweets? Because Ryan Garcia has been wilding on Twitter. Like I don't know what he's doing. He was cursing out the Mets yesterday because apparently he was supposed to throw the first pitch for this game. And my Mets we've been playing a little bit better as of late after a shitty start. Ryan Garcia was supposed to throw out the first pitch. They waited for a few hours, and then for some reason the Mets said that they're not going to be able to do it. I don't know if somebody from like the Mets front office or their media relations team just sort of looked him up and looked at his Twitter and was like, all right, yeah, we can't do this. But hey, dog, like that was weird. And then he was cursing out the Mets on his way out, walking out with Oscar De La Hoya. It's just
Well, I'd be kind of mad about that too if I was Ryan. You know
me
what I mean?
too. But
Because
man,
that's
like
not cool. Like that's not cool to say that, hey, we want you to throw out the first pitch and then be like, nah, because if you looked at what Ryan Garcia was doing on Twitter, or X on Instagram, whatever you want to call it,
it's Twitter.
I thought it was pretty hilarious. Like I was laughing at what he was writing. Like when he said, Devin Haney hit a woman because he identifies as a woman. Like, he's joking around,
Here's the thing.
obviously, but I thought it was funny.
We got one side of the story. I just want to hear the Mets out. I just want to hear the Mets out.
I think we both work in media. I think we kind of know what happened, right? They took a look at what he was doing and they're like, oh, this might be a little bit too risky, and they backed out. But that's lame on the Mets. So I'm a Dodgers fan, so I can hate on the Mets. I can hate on the Mets
If that were the case, do your homework beforehand.
Exactly.
But in terms of the in the ring stuff, so I can answer this part of your question. I'm excited for the fight from the standpoint of, these are two of the bigger names in the sport, and it's for a world title, and it's going to be in Brooklyn, Barclays Center. But I have a strong feeling about how this one's going to go, and I think the majority of people are probably looking at and betting the same way, given how much of a favorite Devin Haney is.
Yeah, let's get right into that. Why don't we? Devin Haney is minus 1100 straight up on the money line, and Ryan Garcia, if you like him as the underdog, some great odds, a plus 650. Bryan, I'm going to ask you another question before we get into the whole betting portion of it. But do you think this line is fair? And then tell me how you're going to be betting this one.
Let me put up Jesus's comment here first, because we do have a few comments. Thank you for watching. Keep the comments going. We're going to periodically go back to you guys, especially if you're sending stuff like this. Good for the Mets, Jesus says.
Oh, Jesus riding with the Mets. By the way, after we do the preview, we're going to get into your comments, and then we're going to break down some more stuff about Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. So keep those comments coming. We will get to all of them.
I'm mildly surprised that this is how wide the line is, but I can't say it's unjustifiable given what we've seen from each of these guys. Like, if you pair up their resumes, Ryan Garcia's beaten probably none of Devin Haney's like top level competition equivalents. Like, if you pair up and combine the resumes, Devin Haney's beaten the top 8 guys between these two, maybe more. 7, 8, something like that, because you have Vasily Lomachenko, you have, Regis Prograis, you have George Kambosos, you have Jorge Linares, you have Yuriokis Gamboa. Even is probably better than anyone Ryan Garcia's beaten. Like,
Gambo wasn't Gambo when he fought Devin Haney though.
I
Like,
know, but still, like,
I mean, that's a name, yeah. But I mean, like,
could he beat Oscar Duarte? Like, different weight
well,
classes, but
yeah,
still.
different weight classes, but also Jojo Diaz, who at the time
Jojo Diaz, that's
was
another good
fighting.
one.
Yeah,
And there are a couple others that I'm forgetting, but like Ryan Garcia's best win is who? Is it Luke Campbell? Is it Javier Fortuna? Is it
Oscar
Oscar
Duarte.
Duarte? Like, it's just,
Yeah. I mean,
like,
but he's been in the ring with Tank though, so I think we have to give him some credit for that because we in this era because Mayweather had the O, everyone wants the O, right? But I remember back in the day when I was growing up, my favorite fighters had L's on their records. My favorite fighters do have L's on their records, except for Andre Ward. But
he won one round in that Tank fight, I think. I thought he started off fine until round 2, Tank got to him, and then that was kinda it. Like, Tank just pretty much owned the fight from there on. But, like,
yeah,
I just think Devin Haney, like, he kinda warrants 11-1 is a lot, but I can't say it's that disrespectful.
for sure. For me, I think it's a little bit disrespectful. Because Ryan Garcia, I mean, he still is, I would say, a formidable opponent. I mean, he's a top guy in 140, not top 5. I think you could kind of maybe put him there top 10 if you really wanted to, but I thought his performance against Oscar Duarte was pretty good. He does have power, he does have speed, but it just doesn't add up to Devin Haney's resume. You know, when you take a look at Devin Haney's resume, it really speaks for itself. You got Lomachenko on there. Look at what you just did to Regis Prograis, right? A former champion. So I think when you take a look at their resume, sure, you can be like Devin Haney's a minus 1100 and then Ryan Garcia is a plus 650. But also, if I'm a fan of Ryan Garcia and you know his skill set, and listen, this is not to say Ryan Garcia doesn't have a chance in this fight. We're going to get into all of that. I don't think it's disrespectful, but at the same time, if I'm thinking Ryan Garcia has a chance in this fight, which he does because he does have power, right? You always have a chance in boxing if you've got power. I would like that plus 650. So I'm not mad at those odds at all. So Brian, why don't you tell me how you're going to be betting this one?
I have 2 bets that I really like for this fight, and most people are gonna go Devin Haney by decision, -160, -180 in that territory. I think that's the most reliable, safest play. I'm not taking the safest play in this fight. You would normally accuse me of taking the safest play in a fight.
Yeah, you know,
But
normally you do, but
it it
it's a
tends to
more of a
happen.
smart, it's more of a smart bet instead of
Smart bet. Yeah, yeah.
a safe bet. But
I really before that, I went over half a knockdown, so I'm projecting a knockdown in this fight, and that was even money -110. I just think somebody's gonna get put on their ass. Ryan Garcia has 3 times in his career, twice by Tank, once by Luke Campbell. Devin Haney, to my knowledge, has not, unless there's something we missed in Mexico fights, but he has not been dropped. He's been rocked. We saw that, but he hasn't been dropped yet. And he did drop Regis Prograis last time, which was pretty stunning to me, given the nature of how that happened. And I think he could absolutely floor Ryan Garcia at some point. So I went over half a knockdown. I think we may see a knockdown here. The big one for me is I really think Devin Haney, defensively, he's on another level. I think Ryan Garcia is going to try to push the pace early and like pressure him and do all these things to try to find the cracks in Devin Haney's defense. Devin Haney is going to ward him off and counterpunch him. And then over the course of the fight, break him down because Ryan Garcia is going to realize he doesn't really have like the answers he should for this fight. And I think Devin Haney could actually stop him late. So I'm taking a shot at Devin Haney to get a late stoppage between rounds 7 through 12 at plus
yeah.
400. Accumulation of punishment stoppage. The odds are really good for it, which is one of the reasons. But I also really think because of how personal this is, Devin Haney's probably going to be a little bit more aggressive than we've seen him. Um, I think some people will accuse Ryan Garcia of being a quitter. I will not necessarily go that far, but I do think Devin Haney could sort of beat him into submission. So I'll go Devin Haney with the late stoppage at plus 400 because the odds are too good. So the knockdown, but also that bet between 7 through 12.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like my bet is much different from yours. I think when you take a look at Devin Haney, and we talked about his resume earlier, but his skill set, I think, is way more elite than Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia has the speed, he has the power, and of course, he has been training with Derek James, and we kind of saw a different version of him against Oscar Duarte, but he was also using a Philly shell that did not really look like a Philly shell, but it worked for him in that fight. Probably can't use that against a guy like Devin Haney in this particular fight, but let's also remember that these guys fought each other in the amateurs. Not to say that they're the same fighters in the amateurs, but of course, if you saw a bunch of what Devin Haney was saying and all the lead ups to, the previews on DAZN, he was saying that he doesn't feel like Ryan Garcia has gotten much better than the amateurs, which I think is a crazy diss because at this point, Ryan Garcia should be a lot better than he was in the amateurs. But these guys really know each other. They have a history, right? They have a little bit of beef. Some of it I think is played up a bit. I think these guys really do respect each other. But when I take a look at this fight, I think Ryan Garcia has to get started really early, right? Especially because I think there's only one way that Ryan Garcia wins this fight. It has to be by knockout or stoppage. That's the only way Ryan Garcia wins this fight because on the cards, he's not going to win against a guy like Devin Haney. Devin Haney is too skilled. We saw what he did to Regis Prograis. Regis Prograis is a championship level fighter, a former champ at 140 pounds. We've seen what Regis can do, and Devin Haney just made him look like an amateur. Devin Haney made him look terrible, to be honest with you. And that's no disrespect to Regis because, listen, Regis is one of my favorite fighters, but Devin Haney is that good. The way that he uses his angles, the way that he moves, the way defensively, like he's light years ahead of a guy like Ryan Garcia. Now, Ryan Garcia, though, he does have a blueprint to look at. I don't think he can fight like a Lomachenko, but if I'm Ryan Garcia, I'm looking at that Loma fight. I'm also looking at a fight when he fought Jojo Diaz, where Jojo Diaz kind of had him shook for a little bit too. Devin Haney does make mistakes, and I think Ryan Garcia can capitalize on that, but it's about the focus for me. It's really about the focus leading into this fight, Ryan, and Devin Haney has it. There's no other distractions. Devin Haney is probably one of the most committed boxers. He's focused, where his mindset is, and it's hard to go against that. And after what he did to Regis, I'm not betting against this man. I'm not betting against a guy like Devin Haney. So I'm going to go with Devin Haney for the decision. I saw it on FanDuel. It's at minus 145 now. However, I would actually sprinkle on Devin Haney to win in rounds 7 through 12, which is a plus 400. I would sprinkle on that because I think there is a chance that Devin can get the stoppage. Even if you look at rounds 10 through 12, I think there is a chance Devin could get the stoppage between the later rounds 10 through 12, which I think would be some really good odds as well. I would also maybe sprinkle on that. Do I think Devin Haney's going to get a knockout and knock out Ryan Garcia? No, because he doesn't have that type of power, but he does have power where he's going to continuously break you down throughout the fight. That's how good Devin Haney is. So that's how I'm rolling with, rocking with Devin Haney. But if you do believe in Ryan Garcia's power and speed, and I do think he's going to be able to land on Devin Haney at times and have some success in this fight, I think, even though like Regis didn't, because Ryan knows him, right? So this is a different fight. These guys know each other. So I'm not going to do it, but I think there is a good reason to maybe, if you think Ryan's going to win, to sprinkle money on him.